Hi, my name is Teresa, and I'm glad that you're joining us today for a lesson on the magic of grids. Now, you probably already looked online and you know what the list of materials are, but I'm going to go through it anyway so that we make sure we have everything here before we start. So the first thing on the list is white paper, and I'm just going to use paper from my computer printer. Also, we need a color photo. Now, if you picked up the packet in the library, there were color photos in there. You may have received Taylor Swift, or you may have received Ariana Grande. If you don't have one of these, you can just download any color photo on your printer at home. You want to make it a headshot though, like a close-up of the person, not so much the whole body, because you want the areas to be large so we can color. Next thing you need is a 2B pencil. So we're just talking about yellow pencils from school, nothing fancy, but make sure they're sharpened before you start, it'll save time. Then we need an eraser. I like to use a real eraser. I try not to use the ones on the pencil because oftentimes they leave a smudge when you erase. The next thing on the list is a ballpoint pen. And this is what we're going to use to transfer the picture from the photograph onto our grids. So this is good to use, and we're going to use it on a hard surface. The next thing on the list is tape or a paper clip. You can use any kind of tape. You can use Scotch tape if that's handy. You might have painter's tape at the house from some painting project. This is nice because it's less likely to pull the color off the paper when you take it off. I'm going to use tape that's called artist tape, and I buy something like this at a place like Hobby Lobby or Michael's, and it's even less likely to remove artwork. When I take it off, it comes off cleanly, but Scotch tape is fine for this project. Next thing on the list is a fine point black Sharpie. So this is an ultra fine point, which is a little bit skinnier, but if you have the next size up, that's fine. We just want to make a black line that we can follow for our outline. Then the next thing is colored pencils. I have a whole assortment here, and this is a mix of pencils. I have Crayolas, I have Prang, Rose Art. It's just kind of an assortment of pencils. It doesn't have to be anything great. And then we need a ruler or a straight edge. So here's my ruler. Now, if you're at home and you don't have a ruler, how can you get by? Well, the easiest way is take a piece of your paper, remove this, we already did that. You're going to fold it over to the corners, let them meet, fold it over again, and one more time, and you've just created your own ruler. And this is also called a straight edge, so it's not necessarily a ruler because it doesn't have measurements on it, but if you put this down on a piece of paper, like so, it works the same as having a ruler, okay? So if you don't have a ruler, you can make a straight edge out of a piece of paper. Now, you're probably wondering why grids? What's so special about grids? Well, over the years, artists have developed a lot of different techniques to help them with their artwork. There's a lot of devices out there that copy artwork, and they have light boxes, there are projection systems, and I'm going to show you a really, really simple way that you can transfer art from a photograph onto a paper. Now, who is Chuck Close? You've probably heard of him in art. You've probably covered a chapter on modern art, possibly. And Chuck Close is a portrait artist, but what he's really known for is doing something very, very different from most portrait artists. When you look at this self-portrait of him from a distance, it looks almost photographic. It looks very detailed. But if I hold it up closer to the screen, you can see that it's really an entire grid of very, very small boxes, probably thousands in this painting. Here's another example. This is another gentleman that he painted. Again, from a distance, looks pretty photographic. You would recognize this guy. When you get up close, though, you can see that it's made up again of a grid. And within that grid, all these boxes are colored in individually. So this is what we're going to attempt to do today. Now, to get started, the first thing we're going to do, actually I wanted to show you one thing before that. Another reason that you can use a grid and why it's helpful is suppose you did a little sketch of something and you liked it, but you did it very small, or you did it, in this case, I did it on loose leaf paper, and you say, gee, I kind of like it. I wish I had done it bigger. So how can you take something small and make it larger? This is the simplest thing. I'm going to take this over here for just a second. I'm going to use my ruler, and I'm going to divide this into 4 sections. Down the center, and I'm going to go down the center this way. Now, here's my little sketch that I did. And maybe I want to do a pop art painting where I'm going to paint 4 different hamburgers in 4 different color schemes. So the easiest thing to do is fold it in half, like so, and then fold it in half again. And what you're left with is 4 quarters of the same pictures. This is the top right-hand quarter, this is the bottom, the top left quarter, and the bottom. Then you take your big page and you only concern yourself with 1 quarter. So I know that, actually I'm going to do it this way, I think. You know that this little section is the right-hand quarter. So now, on my very simple grid that I drew with a diagonal, a vertical, and a horizontal line, I can take this little piece of paper, and I'm only concerned with this little piece. I'm going to put it on here so you can see it better. Okay, so here's my picture, and I want to make it bigger, so I'm going to sketch it here. Just what I see in this picture. Now, if I open this up and I turn it, here's the other side. And I'm only worried about what I see in this one little quarter. So now I sketch that in. I have 3 little sesame seeds. Then I turn it. Okay, now I have the bottom of my roll I can see. I see a piece of lettuce here. So I'm going to sketch that in. Then it looks like the hamburger. I'm going to sketch that in. Then I have a piece of cheese. Let's put that in there. And then the bottom of the roll. Now if I turn this over, the quarter that we haven't done yet, I just have flipped that. Again, put it on that little crease. And now I see what I'm missing in the last quarter here. I want to connect this part of the roll to that part of the roll. It looks like the lettuce is sticking out pretty far here, so I'm going to go like that. This is part of the hamburger here. Let's just darken that so we know that's the hamburger. Then we have a piece of cheese sticking out and the bottom of the roll. So I went from a very, very small picture to a full-size picture of the same thing. Now, I'll give you another example. This is one I did for someone. I needed to do a picture from Harry Potter. The person wanted a picture of Dobby. So I went online and I looked all over for a picture of Dobby that would work. The problem was the canvas was very long and narrow. So I needed a picture that would fit the canvas. So I was lucky enough to find this in a coloring book. So what I did, I used my ruler and I measured it. I made a grid of 1-inch boxes. Now the painting, the canvas was much bigger than this. So what I did was I took a large piece of paper that was the size I needed for the canvas. And if you look at it closely, you'll see my grid. But here, I made my boxes 2 inches. The original, from the coloring book, the boxes were 1 inch. I made a piece of paper that had 2-inch boxes, and I did the same thing I just did with the hamburger. I started over here, whoops. I said, okay, the second box over, and the second box down is part of his ear. So 2 boxes here, 2 boxes over. I drew that little piece of ear. And then I went box by box, and I put Dobby onto the bigger version so that this would be the one that I would put on the canvas and paint. Okay, so let's get to our steps for making our own picture. Now, if you picked up a kit, you already have a picture of either Taylor Swift or Ariana Grande. You could also use a magazine picture. If you have a magazine that has a fairly clear picture of someone that you like, you could do that. Now, when I taught high school, the biggest problem with the kids was that when it was time to do a project, they could never think of a subject to do. And they'd say, oh, I really don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have any ideas. So we used to have a photo reference file, and I would ask them to get a picture of a famous person, a close-up of an animal, things like that. That way they always had pictures to work from. All right, so what we're going to do is take a photograph like this, and we're going to create artwork in the style of Chuck Close. Same picture. So how do we go from this to this? Okay. Now, if you picked up a kit from the library, inside the kit there were sheets that already had the grid on them, and I just loosely drew in circles. This one is the more complicated of the two. One box will have 2 circles, the next box 3, 2, 3. They just alternate like that. But you could actually just do it with 2 circles inside of each box. It doesn't have to be this hard. Now, if you didn't get one of these, what can you do? You can go online and type into the search engine that you want free printable 1-inch graph paper, and it'll print out a sheet of graph paper like this, obviously without the drawings on it. Now, if you're not able to do that, but you do have a piece of white paper, how can you make a grid? Just take your ruler. You don't have to measure. Just set your ruler on the edge of the paper, like so. Use your number 2 pencil. Then just use each line as the next mark for the next box. And you just do that until you go all the way across. Again, you don't have to measure out inches. This doesn't have to be that precise. This is a quick way to do it. And again, if you don't have a ruler, but you made the straight edge with your paper, this works just as well. I'm just going to get that over there. Okay, I can get one more on this side, like so. And then I'm going to do the same thing going the other way. Starting on the edge, lay that right on the edge of the paper. Draw, move your ruler over, draw again, and again. All right, we're going to do this till we get all the way to the other side. Then what you're going to do is, I think we'll just do 2 circles. It's easier and it'll be faster for you to color. So again, if you don't have the paper from the kit at the library and you do have your graph paper, all we're going to have to do is sketch in little circles. But if you just have white paper, this is how you're going to make your own graph. Okay, so here's your grid. And you're just with your pencil. I'm going to put this on a board so that you can see it a little bit better. Let's take this off. Put this on. All right, so now you have your grid. You can start anywhere, just little, big, little, big, little, big, little, big, so on until you've done all the boxes. Now, don't press too hard on the pencil. This is just a guide for you when you color. You don't want it so dark that it kind of is, I don't want to say, like too dark. It's just a guide. We're not going to erase it or anything, but if it's too dark, it'll really like stand out a little bit too much. So this is if you don't already have a grid. Okay. So you see how we're doing that. And again, they don't have to be perfect circles. We're going quickly. They're just sketches. Whoop, forgot one there. Okay. There we have a grid, much like Chuck Close's. Now, the thing with Chuck Close, there are lots of portrait artists, but Chuck Close was the first person to use the grid in his paintings, and that's why he's famous. And if you're lucky enough to go to the Museum of Modern Art in New York, you can see a picture in person. They're very, very impressive. From a distance, again, looks photographic. When you get up close, you see it's these little tiny boxes. Okay, so now we have our own homemade grid. Now, I'm going to go back to one that I already made. And how do we get our person onto our grid? You're going to take your picture. Either you have Ariana Grande or maybe you have Taylor Swift. It really doesn't matter. Now, we're going to turn our photograph upside down. With your number 2 pencil, not the point, but you're going to kind of angle it like this. You're going to darken the back of the picture with the pencil all the way across. Now, after you've done a few of these, you might say, I don't think I need to color the whole back because maybe the face is only in one half of the paper. But for now, for learning, let's do the whole back. And you can see that you can see this pencil pretty clearly. It's pretty dark. So I'm just using a number 2. And the 2B, the reason I said 2B specifically, B is a softer lead, so therefore it's darker. If a pencil says 2H, then it's a hard lead. Well, it's not really lead, but hard graphite. And it gives you a very fine line, but you have a very difficult time doing this with a 2H. It would be lighter and it wouldn't come out as dark as this. All right, so I'm almost to the top. Again, darkening everything with my pencil. Now I have 2 pencils here just for saving time. I figured if one ran out, I would just switch to the other pencil, but might just be able to do it with one pencil. And again, not the tip, but kind of laying it on its side so that you're covering more space. Okay, now, if you're not sure if you got everything, all you have to do is hold up your picture to a light and you look through it and you can see that everything is covered. So now, we're going to take our grid. Now, whether it's the one that you made or one that you got from the library, we're going to lay that down. And this is important. It has to be on a hard surface, because if you have like a tablecloth or like a place setting under here, the pen will go through the paper. You actually want a hard surface like this. If you have a clipboard, you could just clip your paper up here. So now I'm going to take my Ariana Grande. I'm going to line her up with this one. Now you can use Scotch tape or whatever tape you have. I'm going to use my white tape, my artist tape. You only need a small piece. What we're going to do is make a flap at the top. So I'm going to take my tape, put it on the top, fold it over to the underneath. That way I can lift this. It's not going to move. And when I trace this, I can pick this up and actually look at what I'm doing. So again, I'm going to put it on here so that you can see a little bit better. Now I'm going to take my ballpoint pen. And what I'm looking for are all the edges. It's almost like I'm going to create a map on my grid, and that map will show me where I need to be for everything. Okay, so make sure I have it on here. It's not going to move around too much. Now I'm going to take my pen, and I am just sketching in. I'm following the outline of her face all the way up. I'm outlining the earring. I'm outlining her ear. Again, this will put a pencil version on my grid, and that's what I'm going to work from. Now you have to spend a little bit of time with the eyes. You want the eyes to look realistic. So I'm going to follow. This is her upper lid here, the lower. That's her iris. Here's the pupil. Now she has very long eyelashes, so I'm going to put some of them in so I see them. And this is her eyebrow, just outlining it. Now I'm going to come down from here. I'm going to go, there's her nose. Bring that in, little line here, little line here. Her lips, top lip, bottom lip. Here's her eyebrow. There's her lid for her other eye, upper, lower. There's her eye, there's her iris. Now, I'm not too worried about the hair. I'm just basically going to make some lines like this, indicating that she has her hair pulled back. Okay. Now, what do I need? I just need this line for the hair that's here. I need this hair by her shoulder. I need the neck. I don't think I'll make the necklace quite this difficult. I'm just going to make a necklace like so. Okay. Now I'm going to draw a line here. And let's see, did I do the top of her head? I don't believe I did. Look, I can pick this up. All right. I need her ponytail. And I need this part of the ponytail. Okay, now, if I lift this up, it might be hard for you to see because, again, it's light pencil, but on here, I see all the lines that I drew. Here's her eye, her other eye, her chin, her hair. This is the hair on the other side. Then I take my Sharpie, and again, when you do this yourself, you'll have a much easier time seeing it. Now I'm going to use my Sharpie. Whoops. There we go. Thought it wasn't working there. I'm doing her eyes first. You can start anywhere though. And all I'm doing is going over my pencil lines. And this is giving me a map right here on my grid that I'm going to copy. Here's the other. Her nose comes down like this. This is her mouth. Again, you may have difficulty seeing my pencil lines, but when you do it yourself, you won't have any trouble seeing your own lines. Okay, and here's her earring, her ear. Then here's the lines for her hair. And this is the top of her head. Here's her ponytail. And again, I'm just following the lines that we just put on there. Goes like that. Here's her neck. And here's the necklace. We kind of simplified it so it's a little bit easier to do. And here's the hair coming down over here like that. Okay? Oh, I forgot one little line here. All right, so there's Ariana Grande, kind of mapped out on our grid. So how do we get from that to a color picture? Okay, I'll show you one. I'm going to show you a sample. This is what we're going for. Here's Taylor to start with. This is Taylor done as Chuck Close. And you can see that it's basically a question of breaking down your colors. And I usually think there's like 4 basic colors. The color that would be the skin tone, whatever color the hair might be, redhead, brunette, blonde. If there's clothing, in her case, it's just a white shirt and a black hat, super simple. And then the background. So the thing that looks nice about this is that this is very pale. The background was done with a little bit brighter color and a little bit darker, so you have color contrast. The same thing here. She has blonde hair, but her hat is black. So you have, again, color contrast between those two. For instance, if her hair was yellow and you made a yellow hat, there wouldn't be any contrast. It wouldn't look as dramatic. So we want to make it as simple as possible and just have like 4 basic color groups. So that's what we're going for. Now, how do you color it? I'm going to take Ariana off here for 1 second. And I made an enlargement to show you. So once I've transferred my pencil drawing onto my grid and I've gone over it with Sharpie, the next thing is to pick out my colors. But what you have to pay attention to is, suppose this is her face and this is her hair. So maybe this part is brown and maybe this part is skin tone. It's very easy when you get going to kind of forget what you're doing. So for instance, if this is, oh, that's a pencil, sorry, I thought I had a colored pencil. All right, so this is like a skin tone pencil. So if I start coloring this in, I think I have a point on there. It's very, very light. Okay. The trick is I want to stop when I get to this line, because if this is skin, but this is hair, this color won't go over there. It'll stay right in this area. Let me take another color here. So again, this might be skin, and this is skin, so let's make this a skin tone. And maybe I'll use that color here and just fill it in. And maybe I'll use it in here. So all you want to do is jump around. You don't want to have the same color next to itself. So if I use pink in here, but this is tan, then I can use pink here because it's not next to it. You can do the whole thing with one color. If you can picture this, I'll show you in a second. If you have a limited number of pencils. Now if I do this pink, I don't want to do that pink, but I could do this pink because it's not next to it. And then I could take another color and I could make this something different. Like that. And then this one I could put that in here. So you're going to kind of jump around and use the same colors, all the skin tones in the same area. Now, if you do make a mistake, if you're busy coloring and you accidentally go over into the area that maybe this is hair, luckily, if you're using colored pencil, you just take your eraser and just erase. It'll take most of it off, and then you can just color in again. Like suppose this is brown hair. Then I want to stop where this is. This is skin, but this is hair. Now I'm going to color inside the circles on this side of the line, and maybe I'm going to make this brown for the brown hair. Now what I was saying is, suppose you don't have a lot of colored pencils at home. You can actually do this in marker as well. You can even use crayon, and if you feel really ambitious and you want to try all 3, you could totally do that. And then you would call it mixed media. In other words, this is colored pencil, but if you did it with marker and you added crayon, then it becomes a mixed media picture. So with this one, if this is hair, I'm going to stick to the same colors and do all of the hair. But again, you'll see that I stopped here because this little piece here is part of the face. So this part would have to be one of my skin colors. I would have to put it there up to that point. Now, if you only have a couple pencils, that's fine. You could actually do the whole hair in one color, say brown. I could do it lightly, and then in the next, with the same pencil, I could press a little harder on my pencil, and I can change the color, like so. And then I would do light brown in there. And then I would do dark brown here if I wanted to keep just the one color, which would be fine. You can do it with two colors and do the whole thing with two colors, and that works out too. Or you can do a multitude of colors. It's totally up to you. And the nice thing about this, if 10 of us do, say, Ariana Grande, all 10 of them are going to look different. We're all different, and we all do it our own way. So there's no right way to do this or wrong way to do it. There's just your way. You're the artist, so however you decide to color it in, that's going to be fine. Okay. Now, let's see. So you just want to pay attention when you color your picture that when you come to a Sharpie line, it's telling you that that's the edge of something. So it might be the edge of a face, it might be the edge of clothing, could be hair, and this could be background. You're not really sure as you're coloring it. Now, this does take time to do, but when it's done, they look pretty amazing. And I think you're going to be very, very happy with it. So let's go back to Ariana. Take this off of here. So I'm looking at my photograph, and I'm checking to make sure that everything that I need from the photograph, I see the necklace, I see the lips. It looks like I forgot to draw a little line over here. See, I see my pencil, but I didn't do it in Sharpie. So that's why we tape this on, so that we have a chance to go back and look at it again and make sure that we did everything. And in this case, I forgot this line. Comes down like this. There. So now I have lips, nose, eyes. Oh, I think there was an eyelid here. And again, she has very long eyelashes. I'm going to throw some eyelashes in there too. Okay. Now, if you don't have skin tone colors, and maybe you don't have them, maybe you have a very small set at home, that's fine. You can do this with an orange pencil, a brown pencil, a red pencil. For the skin, you just want to make sure that you do it lightly. So this is an orange pencil. Now, if I didn't have any skin tones, and maybe you don't have them at home, you can use an orange, just do it lightly, like so. Okay? And maybe I'll skip over here and I'll make this background orange. Think of it as a checkerboard in a way. You could, like I said, only use two colors if you want. I could do orange here, another color here, and then use orange again right there. Same thing, I could put orange in here. This is if I don't have, like, some sets come with one called peach, which is pretty much a skin tone, but not all sets have them. Now, this is a regular red pencil, but if I do it lightly, it'll come out more like a pink. So it could be part of her skin tone. I don't have to have any special pencils. And maybe I want to make this background pink. Even though I'm using a red pencil, I'm just coloring very, very, very lightly, very little pressure, so that I get that pink look. And then I'm going to put a little pink in here. Now, let's see, I know I had a brown. You could also use a brown pencil. Again, you want to go very, very lightly. So we'll just go very lightly with brown. But again, if you have a bigger set of pencils and you know that you have a skin tone in there, then by all means use that. And then you're just going to fill in all of the skin tone with these same colors. Now, what happens with the eyes? I think her eyes are, I'm going to say brown or greenish brown. So you can just take a brown pencil, do her irises in color, and then what I might do is just go back and make her pupil, which is the dark part of her eye, make that a little blacker so it shows up a little bit better. Now, she has very long eyelashes, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to kind of fudge these a little bit. I'm going to use my black marker and make her eyelashes a little bit bigger, a little more dramatic. And then I'll do the same thing over here. I could do them with a black pencil, but I think the black Sharpie will come out a little bit better. So now we know that her hair is going to be brown. So then I probably want to make her eyebrows brown too, right? So what I'm going to do is go up to the line with that color. This one, it's almost all the same one. And then I could switch to a different brown, and I could do this part of it with a different color. But the effect is that it'll be brown, but it'll be different shades of brown. Now the same thing will happen with the lips. When you get to the lips, maybe you want to make them, let me see what color they are here. They're like a dark rose color, so you could probably use pink and red. So here's a pink, I could put that in there. But you see that I'm stopping. I'm watching these lines. I can jump around like this. Let's see. And I can put pink here. And then I'm going to take my red and I'm going to put a little red there, little red here, little red here, little red here. So I'm still using the circles and these black lines, and every time I come to a line, I'm going to switch colors. So, like I said, this takes a while, but let me show you one that's a little further along.